Okay, so we're gonna start with the sky as usual, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up some nice blue. I'm gonna get some cerulean blue, and I'm mixing up a nice little puddle here of cerulean blue. I want to get enough for the sky. I'm going to fade that down to a bit of pink and yellow in the corner. So let's see how this works out. So we'll start off now with the flat brush right on the top. Let's get that blue in nicely. Not too dark. Remember, it's going to dry lighter as well. And we'll go down the page and add some water into the blue to fade it a little bit. A bit more water here. And what I'm going to actually grab now is some of this 𝗍𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗔𝗟. And let me just drop it into this side. The palette, keep that separated from the blue, and just go in like that, really. So let's drop that in. The red, 𝗍𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗔𝗟, and a bit of orange, a tiny bit of orange. Getting warmer as we come down. And on the other side, I'm going to just get in more of this blue, cerulean blue. You can cover quite a large area with these flat brushes. Feather that down all the way, and going back with the 𝗍𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗔𝗟, making sure that it's just turning into this pinkish sort of colour. So warming it up just a bit. Cut around that umbrella. Okay. Cut around this car as well. Oops. Touch the umbrella. Okay. Being very careful. If you go over the rocks, that's fine. In fact, I'd really recommend you go over them, because let's just re-wet this area. I'm losing concentration. What I was saying was you want to wet these rocks, color these rocks in also in a warmer color, because when you go over it later, we're going to go over it with a cooler color, and you just want that warmer layer to show through underneath. Looks more interesting that way, and kind of look like the light. Picking up a yellow that's a bit brighter now, lemon yellow. Let's get this in. This will be the brightest part of the painting here. More yellow. Okay, fantastic. These little bits and blooms and things like that, not a problem. You can go back into it and add more, or you can leave it. I think I'll go back into this top section here, darken it a bit more with this blue. Especially on the top. Okay. bit of cobalt blue. And soften this edge like that. Clouds are always funny, you never know what you end up with. I'm going to mix up a bit of grey now, just from all the leftovers in my palette, and I'm just going to try to drop some darker bits in, see what happens. Just a little bit. Create some fluffier clouds up the top here, so I'm introducing some water into this area, get some bloom effects and lift out some of this paint too. Okay, I think that might be a bit too dry now down the bottom. I wanted to actually get in some orangey kind of clouds. Let me try. Okay, that works. It might bloom a little bit. So it's a darker. Use a smaller brush. This might help a bit. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Let's lift that out. Too dark. Stick with this brush. And just get in some variations there of clouds. Like that. Another little off bit there. Like that. Okay, some little clouds on this side, very soft clouds, but they're darker than the sky, so just put them in with this flat brush like that. Okay, hopefully that turns out okay. We'll see. Now try a bit of yellow in some of these areas like that. I'll warm it up a bit more. And I think that's going to help a bit because I want to make this fan a bluish colour after. Okay, not bad. So I'm going to assess these clouds, look at whether I like those or not. Okay, I think a bit darker on top. Soften this edge and lift out some of this paint that's pulled up over there. I want some of these hard edges in there too, so I don't want to take them all out. Getting enough paint on that top area as well. I want some of this initial wash to show through too. I think that's just gonna make it look a bit more interesting if we've got some variations in there. See if I can soften some of these edges. It's getting a bit much now. Getting too much water on the brush. Just get rid of that. There. Okay. Just need some darker clouds up the top. Maybe we can mix a purple, 𝗠𝗘𝗗𝗜𝗔 and ultramarine. Like that. Add some depth. More red, like this. A bit more red. Okay, grabbing this brush now, see if I can soften, lift out a bit of that paint here. Yep. Okay. Emphasize some of these little holes in the clouds by lifting out again. Okay, don't mind that one. Might go over it again later with another glaze. I'm not fiddling around too much with the paint, so I just want to get through this. Now we're going to need to mimic the sky, so grabbing this yellow again, continuing this wash down. Now the water, kind of lost track to where my sketch has gone underneath, but it's come in here and then sort of disappears out the back here. So we'll start first with this orangey yellow mix, like that, just on the horizon. Bit of 𝗠𝗘𝗗𝗜𝗔𝗟. Too much, just like that. Okay. Carry this all the way down. Let's see if I can cut around these rocks a bit. If you, I mean, honestly, you could just go over them anyway because we'll color them in a cooler color. Now we're going to add the blue down the bottom. It's very exaggerated in terms of, the colours, highly saturated sort of mix I'm using. Okay. And through this other area we just want to add in, little bits and pieces of just the blue and just indications of waves like that. Yep. Just like that. Smaller waves as it starts to come near the shore. Bigger waves out the back. Don't overdo it. And down the front, bigger waves too. So, oops, more like coming in like this. Okay. Time for the background, the foreground, and midground and foreground now. So I'm going to go over this with a reddish sort of colour and a bit of burnt sienna mixed into it. Like that. Test it out first. Okay. Leave some white there, indicating the waves. Mix some of it in. I'm going to cut around these figures as much as I can. This. Okay, and the ones at the back, if you go over them, it's no big deal. Too far in the distance anyway to tell what color they are. And let's bring this wash all across the page. This is hard. Cutting around the figures is really annoying, and I prefer honestly to just color over them, but I do want to paint them a different color. Let's go around, cut around this. Very important to cut around the car because I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use a kind of blue complementary, and just go all the way underneath and get the tire. It's not a big deal. Okay, blend that. All the way down. Okay, fantastic. Now I just want to add in some little hints of red into this mix. And I want to also grab some burnt sienna, dull it down a bit near the front and darken it up. Okay, now that's looking okay. Soften this a bit. I want to just add darker paint near the front. Like that. Darker down the front. It's going to help create that feeling of depth. Okay, I think I might give this a dry off now and decide what I'm going to do with the sky. I think I need to go over it again one more time with the glaze. So I'm thinking the sky is looking a bit too busy, and I want to just get it more uniform in terms of some of these hard edges. I thought I'd experiment a little bit, but that is distracting me a lot. So I'm gonna go pick up some blue again, some of this cerulean blue, and I'm gonna just cover this whole area once again of the sky. And on some of the edges I can help sort of feather out bits and pieces as I move down. And on other areas that I don't want to change, I'm just going to leave it. More blue, and carry this down the page like this. Especially some of these effects here, they look a bit harsh. So just grab a little bit with the brush, don't overdo it. Yep. I'm going to go pick up some red now as I move down the page and go over this area. Let's minimize some of this. Okay. There's a funny line that's forming here. I don't like that. Just going to try to touch it up a bit. Grabbing that red again. Coming down. For the rest of this side, but firstly let me just finish off the blue area here so that it's all uniform. Oops. Come down further here. Keep this bit wet. But in this area, I'm going to grab the red and blend that a bit more. Just some of these cloud shapes, especially this one, too harsh looking. Okay. For the rest of it, I'm just going to use yellow, brightest yellow I can find, lemon yellow, and I'm just simply gonna go over this whole area again in that yellow, like that. And already things are looking a bit more uniform. And not to say you want it looking uniform all the time, I've just decided that after having a look at it, and I did want it to be more random to begin with, I thought that it's just distracting from the actual subjects, the figures in the foreground. There we go. Go over that once more, a bit more yellow, just a single stroke like this. Okay. I don't mind the look of that, though there is a weird kind of line here. Created another bloom accidentally. This might be okay though. Just a little one. More yellow. They're starting to resemble some fluffier clouds. And I'm at the point where I'm thinking I should really stop now in case things turn out funny. Just look at this. This one's just a bit too much. This cloud. I want it to be bigger, but it has a funny shape. Spread that out a bit more, like that. A bigger cloud on top, that's going to help as well to create that feeling of depth in the painting. Okay, I'm going to leave that sky, start working on the figures and also this van. So I'm going to get in just the layer of the van, the undercoat of the van first. So really the entire roof should be white, but I've gone a little bit too far down with this wash previously. It's not a big deal, we can blend it a bit and like that. Just soften that edge, drag that colour around so that it looks a bit better. But I want to keep that roof white, and that's the plan for now. Like that. Some of these soft edges there. Now, I'm going to go grab some cobalt blue. And let me just see how much consistency I'd like. I think about this medium consistency looks fine. Give that a try. Yep. It's working. Okay. And let's get it in. Using a smaller round brush. Need that to create a straight line across this area especially. And cut around some of these lights. Let's move this down more. Like that. Paint started pooling here and just lift that out. Okay. Across here. Gonna make that line as clean as possible. Around this light. Okay. One thing I should have done earlier as well is the windows, because the windows should have the same wash as the ground. They're transparent. So I think I've found a bit of the leftovers. We'll see what we can do. That. Okay, that's worked. The umbrella. We're also going to make a bluish color, bluish grey, maybe a purple. Okay. Good. Let's get this coming down this stalk. Try to do it in one go. Like that. Okay, and while I'm at it, add in some darkness underneath here. And I'm hoping that will just blend into the top parts of the umbrella. Just a bit of sepia, whatever you call it. Okay. Let that all dry off. Just want to soften this area here. Even some of these edges try to soften a bit. Not the whole thing, just here and there. Just getting some of these tires. Ultramarine blue mixed with sepia. Back one as well. Okay. So soften some of these edges. That. The last tire here, May have to recolor it later to make it darker. We'll see if that's enough. Cool down the bottom of this bumper, very light mix of blue, like that. Bit of alizarin crimson for the figures. Too much water. That. Get this other guy in. I don't like the way he's standing, it looks a bit funny. I'll be able to fix that up later on. This figure here, underneath the umbrella. Couple at the back. And bodies, just indicate lightly. Don't want too much emphasis on them. Shadow underneath them being cast to the left, like that. I've almost forgotten this little dog. That's all you need. I want to just darken some of these figures a bit. Underneath here. Blue, Chris Shorts, Just run off the side accidentally. And the shadow on the ground. Like that. Stumpy little feet. Okay. Just getting some of the hair on these figures. Just a light wash like that on him here. And we've got a person sitting down here as well. Let's get some clothes on them. Some shorts. And actually they're in the dark, so because of this umbrella. So I want to just indicate a shadow coming across their body like that. I really should cover their whole body. There's a little crate or something here, storage container, esky. There we are. Little person sitting under the umbrella with their phone, looking at their phone or something. Let's get some hair on him. Okay. Now we're going with these two back, bit of hair. Get some shorts on him. Like that. Shadow's not dark enough. Umbrella shadow. Get that in a bit more. This is just some leftover mix of blue, quite a thin layer of blue. Just outline these windows. Like that. Just adding bits and pieces of detail. These are the windscreen wipers, and you've got these mirrors that hang off the side as well, like that. If you want to get in. You skip some errors, you don't have to draw them in exactly, just indicate that there are windows here. Don't want to spend all day doing it as well, it's not fun. Little line that's coming up here, some kind of a darker line across top of the car, and it's kind of dark under there. Okay. And one thing I forgot to do, the shadow underneath the car. Okay. That. And actually make these wheels darker while I'm at it. So join the wheels up like this. And the other one here too, these two at the back. Okay. Now, just making this up now. Casting a shadow over in this direction like that. It's all connected. This needs to be bigger, this shadow underneath the car. Just a little bit bigger. Darken tire a bit more. Change it later again once it's all dried. The tire should be darker than the shadow. There's actually got a dark bit at the back here too. Like that. Around this wheel too, just like this. Okay. The lights. Let's do them orange. Bit of orange in there, like that. It's almost pure pigment I'm using. These little lights too on top. Shadow needs to be darkened again. Sometimes bits of the paper just dries faster. I was thinking whether to put in the tire tracks or not, but it looks nice as it is, quite simple, and don't want to mess with it. You can keep going with this really and just, I mean, it doesn't stop, but I will stop soon. I don't want this to be too detailed as well. and these little bits and pieces of the car, like the doors. Like that. You got a handle here, just indicate that. Handle here. Still annoyed by this wash on top, and decide later whether I'm gonna go in with some gouache and add some highlights on top. Probably will. Trying to lighten that as much as I can, and also just to get it straighter. Okay. Just also notice this little bit here which I've forgotten to paint. Call that in. Okay. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is these rocks on the end, and maybe some dry brush and things in the foreground. Let's see, there's rocks here as well, so getting some sepia and blue, mixing them together, and I'm going to go straight into it. In fact, I might use a small flat brush. I've started to use flat brushes a lot more these days. Too light. Mix more of this colour. It's got to be pretty dark. Okay, that's around the right value we need. Yep. I'm not going to colour all of it in, I'm going to leave little bits showing like that. Up here, a couple of figures that I drew in. I might be able to get them in later on. There we go. Darker down the bottoms. Head out into the sea, flatten that out a bit. Okay, these little rocks here, which I'm just going to indicate more for perspective reasons. We'll get these ones closer in now. too much water. Here. Can always darken them again later if it's not the right value. The one that I drew in here. And another reason, the same reason why I've made the ones in the background smaller. This is just to help with perspective, to say this is closer. Okay. Shouldn't have done that. Getting the rest of these rocks in. I'm going to soften some of these, by the way. Might add a few more here. Like that. Okay. So with some of these edges I'm just going to soften like this. Bit of water. I've also put a little flag up the back on this rock. Let's try to get that in. Last bit I'm going to do is just a bit of dry brush, and just to add some interest to the foreground, some seaweed and things like that. Where I think it needs it. Help bring it all together. Soften some of this bottom as well, some of these areas. It doesn't all look the same. Like that. Getting that bit of the umbrella in underneath. And maybe just some little lines on top like that. This be darkened a bit. And the finishing touch, some birds. Just hoping to break up the sky a bit. bit overboard there. Turn that into a group of birds. Just want to darken a few things here. So what I thought I'd do is just change this bit of the car a bit. I need to dull it down. It's sticking out too much from the painting, and I'll see if I can soften some of the edges as well. So I'm going to get a bit of that yellow onto the front here, like that. And let's see if we can cool it down a little bit further here, like that. Just let it melt in to that yellow. Grab a bit more of the yellow, water it down a little bit, and just gonna add in this side now, like that. And on the back of it, I'm going to cool it down. A bit of this purplish colour. Let's just see. Water it down a fair bit. I don't want it to be too dark. Okay. Just cool it down here. Just so that it doesn't stick out from the painting too much. And the yellow here can just serve as a bit of the reflection. I have to do the bumper as well. Lighten that up a bit, like that. Maybe a bit more orange, actually, in here. And on top too, coming down the back, which then I'm going to cool down again. Let that mix in. Soften here. Okay, and I want to just maybe soften some of the edges as well of the car, the van. So just here, see if I can scrub away a bit. Swap brushes to something else. Okay. that. Soften this edge a bit. And maybe this area at the back too, here. Just a little bit softer. At the moment I feel it's just sticking out of the page too much. Top as well. Just breaking it up. And that's done.